The Sega Saturn is a console that I am not very familiar with, but it is one that I want to get to know. Over the Christmas period, I was fortunate to be gifted some Sega Saturn Retrobit controllers, so what better time to embark on an adventure into a console that I have very little knowledge on. When considering what my first title would be, I thought I'd go for something a little on the simple side, and shorter as a palate cleanser between the bigger titles that I've been slogging through. Then, I thought back to my youth. I remembered the arcade cabinets that I'd find slapped into the decor of the fish and chip shop, or the back room of a holiday park as a kid. You know, the type that liked to eat your money for an opportunity to continue playing? I have fond memories of playing a number of these as a child, but one of the earlier ones with interesting mechanics was Die Hard Arcade. It had a joystick and 3 red distinct buttons that I still memorize subconsciously the order of to this day: punch, kick, jump. The reason that this is so ingrained into me, I will discuss a little bit later, so stay tuned. Die Hard Arcade, known as Dynamite Deka in Japan, literally Dynamite Detective, was produced and published by Sega and directed by Makoto Uchida. If you were around in the 90s, you'd know that Uchida was a force to be reckoned with, having worked on Golden Axe and Altered Beast, which both were really well received at the time. So if you picked up one of his games, you knew what you were getting yourself into. Whilst Die Hard Arcade was initially developed as an arcade cabinet in 1996, it was later ported to the Sega Saturn in 1997, then the Sony PlayStation 2 in 2006, and the PlayStation Network subsequently in 2012. Whilst the game is accessible these days due to being available for online download on the PSN, I played the game on the Sega Saturn. We are thrust into the shoes of John McClane and rookie detective Kris Thompsen, who has been assigned to keep an eye on John. John is from New York, but has come to Los Angeles to spend Christmas with his family. As he is dropping in to pay a visit to his former partner, he learns that terrorists have captured the Nakatomi building where his wife works, and taken the president's daughter, Missy, hostage. Whilst John attempts to hitch a ride with the patrol car sent to the scene, he is denied outright. Refusing to let it rest, he convinces Kris to help him get to the building, and the two hitch a ride on a chopper that is en route to the crime scene. Landing up on the rooftop of the Nakatomi building, our protagonists are immediately faced with hostiles, forcing them to use their wits and martial prowess to get them through the ordeal that is about to befall them. Before them lies many they will need to defeat as they fight their way toward the leader of the White Fang terrorists, and the president's daughter. And as much as that sentence makes it seem like it, the two are definitely not connected. Or are they? The plot is very bare-boned and shown in cutaway expositions that seem to last no longer than 10 seconds apiece. Oh, and they also don't have subtitles, so I was always left scratching my head wondering what was just said and what exactly just happened. But it's not really the story that you will be playing the game for. Die Hard Arcade is a beat-em-up that removes the side-scrolling aspect in favour of isolating you to a single room that you must clear before you can proceed. This brings sheer chaos, especially if you are playing the game with someone else. You can strike each other accidentally due to the close vicinity, but luckily it doesn't seem to do any damage, meaning that if you want to beat up your partner for forgetting to mop the kitchen floor, you can. And you can probably even beat them with a mop if you manage to find one, as most of the objects in the environment can be picked up and utilised to your advantage. It's as if one of the developers lived by the mantra of, if it's not tied down, use it, and just went with it. You want to pick up a TV monitor and throw it as a bomb? Sure. Combine an aerosol with a lighter to make a mini flamethrower? Be my guest. Of course, there's also the standard guns and blunt weapons, but the added flair of everyday objects being used to disable an adversary is a novelty that I really enjoyed as we fought our way through the Nakatomi building. I do wish that I had some say in the route that our protagonist took through the building, however, as it seems that they just love wasting their own time, and ours, really. Why would you take the elevators all the way down to the ground floor, only to have to climb back up? And let's not get started on the disarray of their clothing that seem to rip off piece by piece as they go, until they are left almost in their underwear. See, this is why fast fashion is not economical long term. All up, the game doesn't take a long time to complete. In fact, I think we did it in about 40 minutes. The challenge comes with a limited number of credits afforded per game session, and how quickly you can diminish them by dying. I mean, to be fair, the game was originally incepted as an arcade title, designed to chew your dollars faster than you can fish them out of your pocket. But it does creep into the unfair territory, with some of the pot shots that enemies can get on you. And if you're not skilled at the game, then good luck getting any amount of distance into the Nakatomi building before you're meeting that game over screen. Luckily, for those that can't overcome the challenge of the game with a limited number of credits, there is another game included in the menu called Deep Scan. Deep Scan sees you piloting a frigate back and forth across the ocean, dropping mines in an attempt to disable submarines that pass beneath, whilst avoiding their counterfire. It isn't very exciting, however my partner found it to be very relaxing, and we spent enough time playing it until we had about 40 credits stored, which ended up being more than enough to get through the campaign. Not sure how a game included to substitute the main title ended up being more enjoyable, but sure. Actually, you know what? Enjoyable isn't the right term. Maybe I'll agree with relaxing. It was nice not to have to worry about being struck in the back of the head by your partner, whilst the enemy is wailing their fists against the abs that you wish you had. Die Hard Arcade clearly doesn't take itself seriously, evidenced by making you battle firemen, interrupt a guy that's desperately trying to relieve the contents of his bladder, pummel showgirls that turn up like they're about to perform in a Vegas show, and rip the legs off spider-like robots to flail them above your head like a Neanderthal. Not to mention the terrorist boss who takes not just one pounding, but two, and then the president's daughter forces you to square off against each other for the sole privilege of being her bodyguard. Or at least, I think that's why we were fighting each other. I'm not too sure. Some of the stages also have hazardous environmental features, such as the fire truck constantly spraying the basement car park, or the water fountain damaging you as it spins. The main attraction of the game, and the one that forced me to memorize the buttons as punch, kick, jump, from left to right, was the quick time event transition between screens. It's dealt with as an action sequence, and will ask you to quickly press a button that's prompted on the display. Possibly one of the earliest and most memorable uses of QTEs in a 3D action game. If you succeed and press the correct button, you proceed to the next area. If you fail, you are forced to fight more enemies. The graphics in Die Hard Arcade punch way above their weight for a 1997 arcade port, delivering texture-mapped 3D polygon characters that glide with silky smoothness. Every punch from John or Kris feels impactful, responsive, and meaty, without the jank that you'd expect from early 90s beat-em-ups. The Saturn version stays faithful to the STV arcade original, with vibrant, destructible energy that resonates throughout the Nakatomi building's campy environments. I enjoyed the design of the various enemies that you face along the way, even if I thought the descent into a state of undress that our protagonist faced was a little distasteful. The music, courtesy of Howard Drossin's arrangements, is an over-the-top symphony of arcade rock fury that pumps you full of adrenaline from the rooftop through to the president's office. The Saturn's OST blends remixed tracks with raw arcade captures for that authentic pulse, never overwhelming the chaos, but always hyping the QTEs. It's generic in the best nostalgic way, and worms its way through your ear like a temporary dream. There is voice acting, but the sound balance makes it difficult to understand what is being said at times, and the lack of subtitles also makes this element suffer. Sound effects are impactful and reverberate as you solidly strike each of the colourful cronies working for the White Tiger terrorist group. When it's all said and done, Die Hard Arcade is the perfect chaotic rush and palette cleanse to kick off my Saturn journey, and I'm glad that I made this the first choice. That retro beat-em-up charm sings through the screen, causing you to recall those arcade cabinets that devoured your coins before you even had the opportunity to learn their real value. The QTEs that were etched into my muscle memory just came back in an instant, springing my fingers into action at the frenetic segments where you have a brief moment to react or face punishment. Die Hard Arcade captures everything you want in a classic beat-em-up with charm and no hint of mercy. If you're hunting for a quick co-op blast that will leave you grinning and maybe a little resentful towards your co-op partner, I'd highly recommend this game. Just make sure that if you're playing it together, that you pick up the rocket launcher first. By the way, what are your experiences with arcade cabinets? Let me know in the comments. This has been Venoix with a review of Die Hard Arcade for the Sega Saturn. If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe for more co-op content. As always, thank you for the time you take in watching my videos. I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves, and bye bye for now.